Hello my friends and welcome back to PlayStation Underground. We are playing Sword Art Online Hollow Realization, which is coming to PS4 and PS Vita on November 8th. I am joined by Steven and Nick from Bandai Namco. Gentlemen, hello.
Hello.
It's like we've practiced. Also, you chimed in perfect chorus. So
we're going to say everything in harmony and chorus.
Yeah,
we are fans of the Beatles.
We are already totally on a great start. Gentlemen, tell me a little bit. Maybe, Steven, you can ground me in the Sword Art Online universe. Where are we right now?
So, for those that don't know about Sword Art Online's anime series, and also the visual novels, video games, it's all about Kirito and a bunch of his friends that are playing a virtual reality video game. In the anime series, it started off with
Nick,
the
you can run around by
first
the way.
game. It started off with the first game, Sword Art Online, which they ended up going into, and once the game actually started up after the beta, it was known to them that they were actually in a death game, and that if you died in the game, then you're going to die actually in real life. So that was kind of like one of these cool tensions that I think a lot of gamers and anime fans really kind of latched onto, where it's they might be MMO gamers or have kind of dreamed about what if some crazy thing was to happen to me, being so in tune with gaming culture. So that one took place in a world called Aincrad, which had 100 levels that Kirito had to basically progress through, get to the 100th level, and beat it to be able to escape out of this world. Since then, the anime's gone through some other different worlds, where they've gone to Alfheim, which was... Alfheim Online was a fairy-based world where they were different types of avatars. They had wings, they could fly. And there was also another world called Gungale, which kind of took place in a first-person shooter type of world environment. Hollow Realization kind of really goes back to the original roots of Sword Art Online, where the characters have gone back to a game that's running on the same server as Sword Art Online, but it's called Sword Art Origin. And rather than it being Aincrad, which was this vertical level system, this world's called Einground, which is flat and expansive. So it's cool that this is kind of one of the first Sword Art Online games where you have this kind of natural progression from quest to quest within these really large world environments.
Okay, excellent. Beautiful, and it's gorgeous too, so it's fun to see you guys running around in here.
No, it's great because this game was built on PS4, where a lot of the previous games like Re-Hollow Fragment, Lost Song, those titles were built for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. So you can definitely see this game runs at 60 frames a second. There's a lot of stuff that's going on the screen at one time, and the AI and cooperative relationship between your party members is vastly improved.
Okay, excellent. And then tell me, if someone were to just pick up Hollow Realization, I mean, can they just kind of get a feel for things and get going, or do you recommend playing some of the other games in the series first, or maybe watching the anime? What would you say?
I think that, definitely the title's going to resonate really strongly for anyone who's experienced the previous games or watched the anime before, but the game has a kind of a character intro that goes on during the beginning of the game, where it kind of gives you a little bit of background on each of the characters, and then there's kind of a nostalgia sequence where it's oh, remember what happened in Sword Art Online, and then you can actually go in, it'll give you a little bit of overview what happened there, or remember what happened in Alfheim, and so there's ways that you can find out more about where the history of these characters was, but not so much that it would spoil anything for you. It actually could be kind of just something to whet your palate, where you might be oh, well, I really enjoy this. I really want to find out some of these other media points with this property.
It enriches the experience, so to speak. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
excellent. Now, the nice thing that I like about this is that it emulates the look and feel of an MMO, which obviously is thematic to the actual show and the universe itself. But tell me a little bit about the battle system here. I mean, this isn't an MMO. We're not actually playing with a bajillion people online.
Yeah, but it does do a lot of cool ways of trying to really emulate that experience. I mean, even when you're looking at this HUD with the like the
log,
chat window,
yeah, the chat window,
and you have
yep.
like your hotkeys up in the center. Like that was kind of one of the first things when walking through the office and we had like the first playable for this. I was just like, whoa, like what are you guys playing? Like this looks like a MMO that would be played on a PC. And I think that's something that I think is really kind of a cool visual kind of feature point for this series. It's a action RPG, so there's and it's in a 4-player party system. You have a lot of different things that you're able to unlock, different skills, different classes, different types of weapons. Throughout the game, you are always going to be kind of treated in a relationship sense with the other characters as if you were Kirito.
Okay.
But when you start the game, you can actually change out all of your visual appearance. You can change your name, your gender, your size. There's actually a pretty expansive character customization. I can go
sweet.
into that.
Now they'll still treat you as Kirito, but
they'll like change your name. Like
Okay.
if I wanted the main character to be Steven, then they would be like, oh, Steven, like, hey, let's go on an adventure. But
well, guess what? Now we're calling this dude Steven for the rest of the demo. This is now Steven the heroic warrior.
He's definitely.
I mean, the likeness is startling,
Yeah.
really, when I look between you and him.
The size and proportion of eyes,
Nick, you're doing great over there, by the
Thank
way.
you very
bud.
much,
Yeah,
yeah.
doing well. Facing the giant boar.
Let's see how this works out.
I thought it said Mr. Boar on the top, but it actually was not. It was both recorded. So, yeah, tell me, when you said classes, you mentioned earlier, do you mean like there are different styles of combat for each character, or are there literally different classes, like Kirito can become like a mage or a knight, or
certain characters are actually tied to
Also, I
like
think
a
Nick just
class
died.
that's like based on like a specific type of weapon. But you being the main character, you can actually kind of flex between all different types. So like Asuna, for example, she uses kind of like a rapier type spear.
Okay.
And then there's other types of like equips and things that are able to be added to any type of character that's there, but then there's some that are specific to a certain type of character type.
Now, Steven, because Nick just wipes the whole party, I would say, does that mean they're all dead in real life now?
So that's kind of like a big difference, and that's actually a major point that's carried through this game's story, is that like a lot of these characters, they remember the tension of being stuck in this game previously, and how they can't die in it, like the serious nature of dying in this MMO. This one, they're actually able to die and respawn, but the difference is that the NPCs for some reason aren't respawning. So
okay.
there's a different type of, it's kind of like a tension pivot where
Okay.
it's like the NPCs are not coming back, and there's this kind of theme that comes up in so Reiki Kawahara is the author of the Sword Art Online series, and has also penned like Axel World, the Asterix War.
Is the source material a manga or a light novel or what?
The original source material for Sword Art Online was light novel.
Light novel.
But then it's kind of spanned off
Yeah,
into
of course.
all the different variations. But in all the properties that I'm familiar with Reiki Kawahara, it always has this theme of like technology, kind of augmented or virtual realities, and this kind of concept of people kind of rationalizing like, well, what's the relationships that you're making with real people, with not real people, with the technology that you're utilizing versus like stuff that would be that you would use in real life, and kind of questioning like what people feel is important or feeling like what's real. Just because you're in this digital world doesn't mean that the things that transpire aren't real and aren't important. So that's kind of tied into this tension of like, well, these NPCs are dying, but should you care about it or not?
Yeah.
And you end up meeting this mysterious character who is an NPC, and she ends up kind of following, and this happens at the very, very beginning of the game, so it's not really a spoil, but she ends up following Kirito around, and he's curious. He's like, oh, what's this girl? Like, she's an NPC, so she's got to have like a mission or something like that. He goes on a mission with her, and it's really random, and at the end of the mission, she gives him basically like 1 coin. And then is just like, okay, I'm going to walk back to town. And he's like really confused by it because he's just like, oh, there's no prize element. Like, what am I really supposed to do with this? And they end up diving into her programming and finding out that she's completely blank. So there's no script to her, there's no name, there's no anything. And she still speaks like an NPC, so everything's a little bit stunted. But she's also has this kind of questioning curiosity where she's like, I'm not sure what my name is. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. And it kind of spurs everyone to being a gamer and being like an MMO style gamer. There's a lot of like exploration that you do. You want to discover all these things. You want to find all the coolest drops and the coolest missions so that you can like beef up the character. So they're naturally like, well, who is this character? Like, we have to find out, what's going on with her, but we don't want to, report her as a bug or something like that because they would just scrub her out. And that's kind of the beginning progression of like, okay, well now we're going to go in and we're going to make sure that we protect this character and see what her story is all about, if it actually builds and fills.
I love that. So you actually see that in the writing in this game? Is sort of do the NPCs have, as you said, a more stilted, a more artificial tone of voice, whereas the real characters like Kirito and Asuna, like they have a more like kind of organic way of talking? Yeah,
when you watch the anime and when you play the games, like characters that are NPCs, it'll be it's purposely supposed to seem like there was a script that was programmed where it's like you can say a certain thing that would actually activate them to respond and continue that dialogue or mission that's been programmed into them. But in this new world that's been built off of the server of Sword Art Online, the NPCs have a much more human-like interaction. Like they actually mention in the beginning, they're just like, oh, I can't believe that was an NPC. They seem very real. So there's this kind of mystery of like, well, what was the reasoning for the creation of this world? And there's a lot of in a lot of the promotion, like this doesn't really spoil very much because we've been kind of promoting it through our trailers that we've been releasing through the campaign. But the notion is that this world is made for NPCs, and that the more that humans are there, the more it affects them and makes they're malleable. So they end up changing based on human interactions with them, with the world, and was it really something that was supposed to happen with these people being there, And there's even like, some quotes of just like, this world never wanted humans to be there in the first place. So it all kind of centers around like, Premiere is kind of this, the mysterious NPC. She's kind of like the pillar of like, where all this kind of like discovery is going on.
Awesome. I love it. Also, Nick, I can't help but think that maybe is the camera inverted and you're struggling with because I feel like you keep flipping up and down.
It is something I'm struggling with.
I love it. Steven, you can take over at any point if you feel like you want to show something in particular about the game. I know we've been in this opening area. Was there anything else you guys wanted to show off in terms of different areas in the game?
Well, right now it's at the very beginning. Like you can see, like I think our characters are like level 6, so it's all going to be kind of these field environments. But you have these random NPCs or like enemy characters that'll be on the map. And if I run to this next area, I can show you like kind of how there's this seamless event system where you walk into a circle of influence, and then you're able to go into a mission where it might be, destroy all the hornets that are in this area, and then you'll get some sort of special drop. But there's also, like any sort of MMO that you would play, there's a battery of like missions. Like if you go to a bulletin board, you can go for fetch quests where you're supposed to get a bunch of drop items, or you have to defeat like a certain number of a specific type of enemy to be able to receive rewards, and then get more currency that you're able to purchase more upgrades to your equipment, new weapons, augment your weapons, stuff like that.
Excellent. Do you feel like give me a little bit of insight into the actual kind of structure and flow of the game? Is it mostly like certain quests are, marked as main story quests and you can follow that line specifically, and then as you said there's all the side quests as well? Or is it kind of like always open and you sort of like bounce between objectives?
The story's fairly linear, but that does give you the freedom of, like, if you wanted to focus more on leveling your cast of characters, building more relationships with other characters, then you have the flexibility to do so. It doesn't necessarily like force you through story. So this is like an example of, like, I walked into this sphere, and then my mission is to kill 7 of these assault wasps.
Assault wasps?
Yeah, they're assaulting.
Okay. They are just assaulting us with their wasp nature. Skill chain? Now, are you always controlling... I might have missed this when you were talking before, but are you always controlling Kirito, or can you control the other characters in the party as well?
You're always controlling Kirito, but you can give them commands.
Okay.
Like, I can say, like, we want to use all of our skills together, or tell your characters that you want them to heal themselves. The characters actually, like, in previous games, there was kind of like a little bit more want from players to have the NPCs that you work with to be a little bit more responsive to the actual situation that's going on. And I think when people start playing this game, they're going to really get a feel that, they don't have to babysit. Sometimes when you play a game where it's like you have a party of multiple computer-controlled characters, you might feel like you're kind of babysitting a little bit and they're not like following you around, but this all feels very, very fluid.
That is the exact way that I want it, because as you said, when you're like, this NPC, it's really not living up. Its code is blank, Steven. It is. It's a mystery to me.
Needs a reprogram.
That's one thing that really interests me, not only about the Sword Art Online universe, but also these games, is that I feel like, not to get too philosophical, but I feel like the designers are really kind of designing on a really unusual and interesting way, because they're designing a game that's mimicking an MMO, that's mimicking the real world, that's also based on a pre-existing story, so they obviously have to adapt and mold their work to that. But holy smokes, do you guys get to interface with the Japan team at all on, like, kind of the philosophies behind this game, and like what was, what the intentions were there? Because it seems very, very complex, very layered.
On some types of projects, we're given a little bit more opportunity to be able to give, like, that kind of cooperative feedback. And
that's a very diplomatic way to put it. Cooperative feedback.
But on this one, the team that worked on this title, the development team, they were the ones that worked on Rehollow Fragment. So there's a large element of the kind of trial and error and trial and success of putting together, like, these large expansive games that's emulating a real world kind of gaming experience. It gets meta on meta on meta.
That was exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, I feel like I can barely keep it straight in my head.
Well, it's interesting because in the game, all the characters know they're playing an MMO, so you'll be talking to them, and usually in these games they'll be talking about the world and the story that's going on. But here it's like one character is like, I've been playing so many other MMOs right now, I haven't had really time to play this one, so I don't know all the information yet, so let's go. And
you get that extra color.
You get that extra color, context, a little extra, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, or like there's raid bosses later in the game where all the characters are doing strategy like MMO guilds would have in real life. When there's weak point, everyone attack with this skill and kind of do that stuff. So it's interesting.
It's definitely a game that plays and speaks to the gaming population as well. Because the same can be said for the anime and the source material as well, for sure. Are you always, and in terms of your party, the party composition right now, I don't know if you can say, but are we going to see other characters join the party, or is that a mystery right now?
I don't know. There's pretty much, if you want to look through the history of, like, the Sword Art franchise, your favorite character is probably going to be
A playable
a
in some
character that
capacity?
you can add to your party. Like, you know, if I go,
Awesome.
if I
I
go
mean, you
into,
clearly have the two most important, Steven. Let's be honest.
well, it's like these are all the people that I have relationships with now. So I can, you know, I can set, you know, certain characters to be, you know, I want to, you know, replace Philia with, let's say, Klein's out of there.
Get out of there,
Yeah,
Klein.
sorry about it, Klein. You know, I can even battle with Yui, like, you know, which is your program daughter. But I think there's another cool element to this game, which is like, you know, pretty much all the player characters and NPC characters you can interact with, and you can, you know, speak with them, start building relationships, and it as you get to like level 3, that's when you can actually have them join your party.
Awesome.
And then as you continue to build up that relationship, you can do things like you can take them on dates, you can hold hands with them. There's you know, cooperative sleeping. You
Yes.
know, like it's all
Very eloquently put, Steven.
I think that's actually the
Steven turned to Nick and was like, am I going to get myself into some hot water here? I don't know.
It is very it's very sweet.
Wait, also,
like,
I want to, so I just saw, before you even had said that, I saw the hold hands on the menu. So you need to hold hands now.
So I'm not sure if like, so if I look at the menu, I can wait. No, go back.
So if you press, wait, go back to where you were looking at. If you press R1, what does that do?
So basically, if you look in the corner, there's the friendship rank, and so
Okay.
like I'm close with Asuna now, so I think maybe she'll hold hands with me. And then this is like all of the personality attributes that Asuna has, and each of them has like different attributes that actually build up the character's stats. So you
Oh,
can actually
man.
find out from each of these different characters that you meet, like what type of character they would build into.
This is that menu right there speaks to my JRPG history on so many levels. It's hysterical. Like I was looking at that menu, I was like, well, that could sell games right
Yeah,
there.
pretty
Just
much,
looking at
yeah.
all our personality traits floating in a bubble.
So if I'm close with her, I can try holding hands. But
Yeah.
see,
Nope.
she's not. Even though we're boyfriend and girlfriend, she is not feeling the holding hands yet. And
Steven, you're in public.
I
Okay,
know,
sir? Who can hold hands in public?
well,
It's
see,
not
the
appropriate.
first level's holding hands. If you're really close, you can actually pick them up and carry them through the town like you were carrying them over the threshold. You know,
Over
so
puddles.
it's something very very sweet and chivalrous. But if I tried to do it too many times, like, you know, oh, she gets mad, and then they can actually leave your party. They could just be like, no, I'm out of here.
Do you lose them permanently? In your party,
You
or
could
do
always
get
go
them
back and you can try
Okay.
to
You can try and
rebuild
build
those
that bridge
things.
again.
And it's like, you know, she's running around with me right now, but if I wanted to go to Yuki, and then I can.
Oh, Asuna's gonna get jealous.
Yep, no, she's.
Should I say Asuna?
Asuna?
I want
Yeah.
to get that pronunciation right.
And it's jealous, by the way.
What?
Jealous.
Jealous.
That's the pronunciation for that. So
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What did I say?
jealous.
Oh, okay, perfect. Steven, you're throwing me for a loop. I was like, oh no, what did I say? Did I say? Yeah, I embarrassed myself.
Yeah, so now Yuki's part of my walking party, and then like as you go around with them, like it builds your relationship with them. You know, you can have like little short conversations, and yeah, just having fun in the VR MMO world.
Love it. So tell me, you know, Sword Art Online, Hollow Realization, coming November 8th. What? Give me 3 reasons, and you and Nick can split this task up, okay, in case you need help. 3 reasons why this is the game for JRPG fans to look into come November 8th.
I think, you know, Sword Art Online, it has all the elements that a JRPG fan would look for. It has a fun story with a very colorful cast of characters that all have different backgrounds to them. It's kind of like this world is your sandbox to that property that, you know, so anyone who's a fan of Sword Art Online would be like, oh, now I gotta play this game with all my friends and do something, you know, that is like all the content that I've watched before. But then even for someone who is not familiar with it at all, I think it does really kind of pique their interest on what is the series, why do I not know about it already, why I need to run to, Crunchyroll and watch it right now.
You need to walk. No, wait, run, not walk. no, please walk. It's safer. Oh, was that reason 1? That was a lot of stuff for reason 1.
It's all one big reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one. That's
Yeah.
it. So you're just gonna say instead of 3 little reasons.
Well, no,
it's
and then
one
But
big
for me,
reason.
one of the big things, number 2 would be just the style of game where I don't have time to play an MMO. I'm not like your coworker Justin, who is online every night playing Final Fantasy 14. I was like, I don't have time to do that. So being able to have that kind of combat, that kind of simulated experience, and just see kind of what that gameplay is like, and kind of get in there, and even if you are a fan of MMOs, and being able to kind of have a tight world and character building and all that stuff is really something unique that you don't usually see too much.
So it's cool that you get.
It's cool that you get that experience in a 40-60 hour adventure instead of a 400 hour.
We all have 400 hours.
You
to
know.
spend on an MMO. Steven, give me reason number 3. What's the cherry on top?
For me, I've played a couple different online MMOs, but it's again, kind of pivoting off of what Nick just said, where it's having the time to be able to play one of those things. It's a real commitment. You have your friends that are playing online. You have to coordinate the time that you're all going to be doing all this stuff. Sword Art Online Hollow Realization gives you kind of the opportunity to have that type of gameplay experience at your own pace. But it does still have all the elements that you would look for in an MMORPG. There is the 16-player raid battles that you're doing with the NPC characters, but you can also do 8-person raids where it's 4 NPCs and 4 live characters. So you can still play this game with your friends.
Oh, awesome. I didn't even realize it had a multiplayer component.
So I think that type
aren't
of...
you glad I asked?
Yeah. It's that type of flexibility to, someone who might not be that social of a person to have to jump through all the hoops of I'm going to find my guild and I'm going to do all this stuff. It's you're already this hero character, so you could this might actually be something that makes you say why am I not playing more MMORPGs? So.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Did I miss anything? Did we hit on the good points?
No, I think we definitely
did. Hammered it home. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. This has been PlayStation Underground, and this you are watching right now is Sword Art Online Hollow Realization, coming to PS4 and PS Vita on November 8th. We will see you next time.